What's going on, everyone? Chris from Pickdawgz.com here with your Week 9 college football breakdown. We're going to be going over 9 college football games going down on Saturday, October 26, 2024. If you like this content, make sure you smash that thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Make sure you let me know your college football bets in the comments section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, including the daily $15 best bet, my best bets on the board, the games that I love, head to Pickdawgz.com and click the Premium Picks tab at the top of the page. We got another, great week of action. I've picked out 9 games I like. We got some marquee games we're talking about. Some games that have seen some line moves, some of the more, talked about games on the board. We're not going to waste any time, though. We're going to get right into the action. So what do you guys say? You guys know the drill. You ready? I'm ready. Let's get into it. Our first game comes to us from Ohio Stadium. This one's going down at 12 p.m. Eastern. It is going to be the Ohio State Buckeyes and the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Ohio State laying 25.5. Total set at 48.5. This one's going to be on Fox. And Ohio State, a rightful, huge favorite here. They had a bye week to sort of sit and stew after that game against Oregon, where they lost that one 32-31. And it was a bit of a heartbreaker for Ohio State as their first loss of the season. But Nebraska's coming in off of a 56-7 shellacking at the hands of Indiana in their last game. And while, you could look at Ohio State and say, oh, this team's going to be angry, they're going to come out with some fire, I think that there could be a little bit of, rust here, especially with the week off in between. They've had an extra week to sit and stew on that loss, but now it's just a bit of a sandwich spot for Ohio State here. Now, it's crazy to think that a 5-2 Nebraska team could be considered a sandwich spot for Nebraska, but you're coming off of that loss to Oregon if you're Ohio State. You have a road game against Penn State on deck. And I honestly think that Ohio State's going to keep the game plan fairly vanilla here. I don't think they're going to give up too much on tape to Penn State and to put on game film here. 25.5 is a lot. And Nebraska, I think, is going to want to make amends for that poor showing against Indiana last week. I'm not saying Nebraska's going to come out and win this game outright, but even if Ohio State ran it up a little bit, I know, Nebraska hasn't really done anything to earn, our trust, from a defensive standpoint, but would a 38-17 game surprise anybody and have, Nebraska sneak in the back door here? Absolutely not. So I'm going to lean towards Nebraska here plus the 25.5. Now we head to Stark Vegas for a matchup between the Arkansas Razorbacks and the Mississippi State Bulldogs. Arkansas laying 7, total set at 56.5. This one is going down at 12:45 p.m. Eastern, and it's going down on SEC Network. And, with Arkansas, to come in 4-3 on the year, they're coming off of that 34-10 loss to LSU. And we've kind of had the win one, lose one train starting for Arkansas here, struggling to find consistency. But I will say the one thing that Mississippi State has done consistently this season is lose and give up points in bunches. I mean, over the course of this 6-game losing streak to drop them to 1-6, Mississippi State's allowed 30 or more points in all 6 games, 34 plus in each of the last 5. And you see that, they've covered big numbers against teams like Texas, Georgia, Texas A&M. But they were catching 21, 33, 37 in those games. Last time we saw them as a 7-point dog, they lost by 17 against Florida. So for me in this one, I got to lean towards Arkansas here. Arkansas 4-3 on the year, but I think that this is going to be a must-win game for Arkansas. This is a team that wants to go bowling because they have a tough rest of the season after this. I mean, you have home games against Ole Miss, then you have a bye week, and then you have Texas. So this is one of 3 games that you need, or at least 2 games that you need of the 3 that you have that I would think are winnable spots. Home games against Louisiana Tech, then they're at Missouri to finish out the year, and they have this game against Mississippi State. Mississippi State's defense has just been abysmal. They're 123rd in total defense, 115th against the rush, 113th against the pass. I keep saying it. I like what Taylon Green has brought to this Arkansas offense. And I just think that Arkansas is the better team here. I look for them to win this one by double digits. I would love it if I could get it at 6.5, just for that key number of 7. But I'll still lay the touchdown with Arkansas in this spot. Now we head to Tuscaloosa for a matchup between the Alabama Crimson Tide and the Missouri Tigers. And this one's going down at 3:30 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Plus and ABC. And, when we do our college football show with myself, Mitch, and Ron Romanelli on Tuesdays, we record it on Tuesdays. It's usually released that day or on Wednesday. You get our early take, but some stuff has come out throughout the week that has kind of changed my take from the over on that initial show to now leaning towards the under. I was kind of trying to get towards Alabama for a side, and that's saying a lot for me because Missouri was one of my takes to potentially make the college football playoff coming into the season, but I have to sort of rethink it because Missouri, they just did not, evolve offensively the way that I thought they were going to. Brady Cook and Luther Burden did not have the same connection they did. And now coming into this game, Brady Cook is now doubtful for this game with that high ankle sprain that he suffered against Auburn. So, for me, it's just if you take Brady Cook out and you have to shift to Drew Pine, that is a massive downgrade for Missouri. And for me also, I really think that Jalen Milroe just is not healthy for Alabama. And we start to see Alabama's offensive production dip in recent weeks. For me in this game, like I said, I think 51.5 is too high. We've seen the total dip already. But yeah, this is just one of those games where, I think the downgrade at quarterback for Missouri is huge. I think Alabama, like I said, takes a more conservative approach. So I'm going to go with the under 51.5 in this one. Now we head to a matchup between Cal and Oregon State as former Pac-12 rivals go at it in this one. Cal will be laying 10.5 at home. Total set at 49.5. This one's going down at 4 p.m. Eastern on ESPN2. And Cal last week, I was on NC State in that game, even though it was really ugly, because I was just like, Cal just does not profile as a team that you want to back as a heavy favorite because they just get involved in a lot of defensive battles, a lot of hard-nosed games, and Justin Wilcox has profiled as a great double-digit underdog coach, but not a very good heavy favorite. And not only did Cal struggle to put away NC State, they ended up losing that game outright as they were outscored 14-0 in the fourth quarter. And I will give Cal credit; they went from 10-7 down to 23-10 up going into the fourth quarter, but unfortunately couldn't hold on. And it's another gut punch for Cal, like we talked about last week. A Cal team that doesn't need another gut punch. I mean, look at the last 4 weeks over this 4-game losing streak for Cal. You start with the loss to Florida State on the road, a bad Florida State team. That's their only win of the season in a game where 2 missed field goals for Cal cost you that game. Then you choke up that game against Miami where you were up 35-10. Then you lose a heartbreaker flying back across country to take on Pitt. Now you fly back home and you take the loss against NC State in another heartbreaker. The only advantage Cal has compared to those games is that they at least get to stay home for back-to-back games, but I'm still not buying it. Oregon State, yeah, they didn't have the greatest performance against UNLV, but they were still wildly competitive. And, Giovanni McCoy has been able to provide some stability at quarterback for Oregon State. He did throw 4 picks in the loss to Nevada, but still, Oregon State can run the football. And while Cal has a solid run defense, I still think that Oregon State can at least do enough to keep this one within single digits, even if it's more about Cal not necessarily lighting up the scoreboard here. So give me Oregon State here plus the 10.5. Now we head to this Big 12 matchup between Arizona and West Virginia. And this one's going down at 7 p.m. Eastern on Fox Sports 1. Arizona laying 3, total set at 52. And to be honest with you, I looked at this game, and the reason it made the breakdowns because I just think that there's value here on the other side with taking West Virginia and the points. Because for me, this Arizona team just is not the same that it was last season. I know you undergo a change at coaching, in the coaching staff with Jed Fish going to Washington and Brent Brennan stepping in to take over Arizona, but you still had one of the best tandems in college football last season in Tedoroa McMillan at receiver and Noah Fafita at quarterback. But Fafita just hasn't had the same hand that he did last year. His last 5 games, he's thrown 4 touchdowns to 8 interceptions. Last time out against Colorado, it was a Colorado beatdown, and Fafita threw for just 16 to 26, 138 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. And there's nothing for me about this Arizona offense that excites me anymore. I mean, the pass offense is great season long. They're averaging still 253.4 yards per game, but the numbers dipped across their last 3 games, and West Virginia's defense has started to step up now. The question is Garrett Green. Will Garrett Green be healthy at quarterback for West Virginia? But even if he's not, I still think West Virginia's ground attack can do enough here. There's nothing that really stands out for Arizona's defense. They're not necessarily great at defending the run. They're not great in terms of yards per carry allowed. They're well below national average. And I think that West Virginia can get the job done here. I think that this Arizona offense right now just feels broken to me. So I'm going to take West Virginia here plus the 3 points. Now we go to TDECU Stadium where the Houston Cougars take on the Utah Utes. This one's also going down at 7 p.m. Eastern, and this one's going down on ESPN Plus. And with Utah, at least we keep saying it, we no longer have to play the Cam Rising will he or won't he game, now out for the season. And it just feels like we were just being played games with Utah all season long. And now we at least know that it's going to be Isaac Wilson going forward. And Wilson was not good in his last game. It was a game that Utah lost to TCU at home, 13-7. Wilson 17-33 passing for 199 yards, a touchdown, a pick. And while Houston's defense hasn't been anything special season long, their pass defense is actually decent. They're top 20 in pass defense. Top 25 in completions allowed per game. They do allow a hefty completion percentage, but that to me just tells me that they're allowing just a bunch of short passes. So I think Utah could be in trouble here, considering that this offense has stalled more often than not. As of late, they've scored 19 points or less in each of their last 3 games, all losses, and 23 points or less in 5 of their last 6. On the other side, you've got Houston, who have scored 14 points or less in 3 of their last 4 and in 5 of their 7 games this season. Utah's defense for me is going to be the best unit on the field, but is it enough where I want to lay 4 points? No. But is 4 points enough for me to take a shot on Houston here? No. So I'm taking the under 37 in this one. This could easily be an ugly 17-10 slop fest. This is not what Big 12 football I think was expected to be, and these two teams I think are just going to be messing around between the 20s for 60 minutes. So if you like ugly football, I think this game's going to be for you. Give me the under 37. Now we head to Kroger Field for a matchup between Kentucky and Auburn. This one's going down at 7:45 p.m. Eastern on SEC Network. Kentucky 2.5-point favorites in this one. And I'll tell you, I was buying into Kentucky in that game against Florida going into the Swamp. I thought they could have went in and handled business. They were laying 2.5 on the road, and Florida just absolutely ran wild on Kentucky in that game. DJ Lagway had a solid game, 7 of 14 for 259 yards. We had a pick, but it was Jaden Baugh that ran for 106 yards and 5 touchdowns on the Wildcats in that game. So you would think that maybe all the blueprints out, you can kind of run on this Kentucky defense. Kentucky against the run this season, they got caught. Well, here's the problem is that Kentucky's been solid across the board pretty much everywhere you've looked. And while you look at their last 3 games and that 104.7 rushing yards per game balloons to 144.7 in their last 3, I still don't trust this Auburn offense to be able to take advantage. Auburn, yes, they're 13th in yards per play, but their strength is passing the football. And they're 32nd nationally in passing yards per game. Kentucky's defense, 22nd in passing yards allowed per game. 2nd in passing attempts against teams. Don't pass on this Kentucky defense because Kentucky allowing the 3rd fewest completions per game. They're also opportunistic in terms of forcing interceptions, while Auburn, Peyton Thorne or Hank Brown, it hasn't seemed to matter who it is. They can be very careless and they can be very turnover prone. For me in this one, I think I got to lean towards Kentucky here on the money line. The line is low enough at 2.5, and the money line is reasonable around minus 130, minus 135. That I would just take Kentucky money line here. I think they just have the stronger defensive unit in this one. And like I said, I'm not a fan of Peyton Thorne or Hank Brown. It's been Thorne the last few weeks, and I just don't trust Thorne to be able to break down this Kentucky defense enough to get the win on the road in a tough environment. So give me Kentucky at home here. Next, we're heading to Camp Randall Stadium for a matchup between the Wisconsin Badgers and the Penn State Nittany Lions. This one's going down at 7:30 p.m. Eastern on NBC or Peacock. And we talked about Ohio State in one of the earlier games, and now we're going to be talking about the other side of that marquee matchup next week. And I think it's the same situation where I think Penn State's in a bit of a look-ahead spot with Wisconsin in front of them, and then a matchup against Ohio State on deck. I think that Wisconsin, as much as I hated on the Badgers earlier this season and didn't necessarily love, Braden Locke early on, there's no denying that he has stepped up his game for the most part. I mean, he did struggle against Northwestern, but it was still a 20-point win for the Badgers in that game. And before that, I mean, Locke had thrown for 20 of 28, 240 yards and a touchdown, a pick. Before that, he was key in that 52-6 rout of Purdue. And while Wisconsin necessarily hasn't had the toughest of schedules, like I said, I still think this is a bit of a look-ahead spot for Penn State. They've had a couple of close calls. They had the road win over USC, and now they got to go fly back cross country to take on Wisconsin. This is like, I still haven't forgotten this is a Penn State team that only beat Bowling Green by 7 points. But now you also have all the off-field stuff that's going on with Penn State, a lot of distractions. So for me, I just think that the value here is with with Wisconsin plus the 6.5. I like the over as well, but I think I can lean towards the Badgers here, especially if it gets up to 7. I'll really like the Badgers in this spot. So give me the points with Wisconsin. Our final game comes to us from the island where the Hawaii Warriors take on the Nevada Wolfpack. Hawaii laying 2 and total set at 44.5. And I keep saying it with Nevada. I was quick to hop off of Nevada earlier this season. I was a little bit, skeptical of this team, but I must admit they're highly competitive over their last few games. This is a team that their 2 losses have come to Fresno. Their 2 losses recently have come to Fresno and San Jose State by a combined 7 points. They're 3-0-1 against the spread in their last 4. They've also beaten Troy. They almost beat SMU as 27-point dogs earlier this season. They almost beat San Jose State outright and would have had a 3-game win streak going into that game against Fresno. But I still also think that Hawaii is just flat out broken. I know they've played some tough teams as of late, but it's also a team that lost outright to San Diego State. Not a good San Diego State offense, and the run and shoot offense for Timmy Chang this season is just broken. And I think that Nevada is, like I said, ahead of schedule. And I think that Nevada can get the job done on the road, on the island. This is a team that's gone from being a potential just a year 0, rebuild to a team that if they can win this game and wins very winnable games down the stretch against Colorado State and Air Force, this is a Nevada team that could potentially go bowling. And that would be a massive step for Nevada considering where this team was expected to be coming into the season. So I'm going to take Nevada here plus the 2 and put a little bit on Nevada money line as well. That's it. That's your Week 9 college football breakdown. I appreciate each and every one of you for joining me for this video. If you like this content, make sure you smash that thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and make sure you let me know your college football picks in the comment section below. Did I not mention a game that you like that you have a pick on? Again, put it down there. We're trying to make money as a team, as a Pick Dawgz family, so let us know what you like. If you're looking for my best bets on the board, I'm going to have a lot of them as college football Saturday. Head to pickdawgz.com, click the premium picks tab at the top of the page. It's a great time to jump on a long-term pass. Like I said, going to have a lot of college football plays on Saturday. Going to have NFL on Sunday. The NBA is here. NHL is here. We got the World Series. And a lot of times, grabbing those long-term passes are actually less, especially on college football Saturday. This 3 and 7 day passes are actually less than buying each of the daily individual packages that day. So you get the best value by hopping on something long-term. Whatever you choose to do, though, daily package, long-term package, whatever, use the promo code PICK at checkout for an additional 15% off your purchase. But again, I appreciate each and every one of you joining me for this college football breakdown. Let's have a heck of a Saturday. We'll see you guys.